Hi, my name is Beverly, and hopefully you can hear me. Um, I want to make a video and tell you about a dream that I had in last year, in December, on December 18th of last year. This was the same day that I heard 42 months, and as you probably know, 42 months is referred to in the book of Revelation, chapter 13, as the period of time that the Antichrist will reign. So there was other things that I heard about the Antichrist that day also. One of them was where this female reporter was shouting out that he will command to be a superstar, talking about the Antichrist. And then there was a reference made to a group of people called Lucentaurians, and they were like people who considered themselves to be elite and intellectual and all that, and they worship the devil, or Lucifer, as they would like to clean him up and call him. But anyway, so the dream that I want to share about, this was an elite person. I didn't really see them that I can remember, but I guess I just heard them talking. And this has been over a month ago, so I don't really remember how it all went down. But an elite was saying why they control people. And it was because they would make something that they enjoy and wonder when this life was going to be over. And that was exactly what he said. The reason why they control people was because if they didn't control the people, then the people would make something that they enjoy. And that people would wonder when this life was going to be over. And I thought those two things were very enlightening and very significant. So I want to break them down and read you a few scriptures. So, as far as the fact that if they left us alone, if they left people alone, they want us to think that we need government and that we need all these institutions. We need their protection. We need their laws. But they're not coming in to do anything except for use you and enslave you. And if they were to leave us alone and stop harassing and oppressing us through taxes and through our jobs, through, all the dumb stuff that you have to put up with at your job that's just totally unnecessary. If they were to stop doing all those things, stop pulling you over, instead of you feeling, oh, look, there's the police, they protect and serve. When the police go by, you checking to make sure you got your seatbelt on and trying to drive real straight and looking at your speedometer and trying to find the speed trap, because they do like to sit in places where the speed will suddenly drop from 50 to 35 or 25. And unless you're just staring at the side, it won't be obvious that the speed limit has changed. So they like to wait in those places. If they were really trying to keep those areas safe, then they would make the signs really obvious. They would put some flashing lights. If what they were trying to do was avoid dangerous traffic conditions, then they would let the people know the speed limit is about to change. The speed limit is set lower here because, it's necessary that you drive lower. This is going to be a more congested area or whatever. But instead, they wanted to take you by surprise so they can write you a ticket. So, not to get too far off track, it's just about them, how everything is just a big hassle. The reason why, there's traffic. The reason why you have to sit in, some of you, an hour of traffic, and some people more. One time I was in the Maryland area, Virginia, that northern D.C., Maryland area, working for a little while. And if I set out at the wrong time to get to work, it would take like a 17-mile drive and turn it into over an hour, just because the traffic would change. And there would be many ways and many things that they could do to improve the quality of people's lives. They could stagger work times to decrease commutes. Any number of things that they could do. But the Lord has showed me that in healthcare, they purposely do things, and the only purpose of it is to basically harass people, just to make it hard for them to do their jobs. And you might be wondering, oh wow, that's a for-profit business. Why would they want to make it difficult for their employees to do their job? Because when you harass people, they are easier to control. And the forces that really run this world, because the Bible told us we don't battle against flesh and blood. Flesh and blood cares about money. But the spiritual entities that we battle against, they want to control you. They want to control you. They want to destroy your faith. They want to make you sin. And they want to make you do detestable things. And they want you to be disgusting to yourself and to the people around you and to the Lord, so that you won't be under His protection and you'll be open for them to destroy you. And only reason for that, because they're doomed and because they're going to be destroyed. Because there's no such thing as joy for them. There's no such thing as love for them, because you can't have those things without God. So the only relief from the agony of their impending doom they have is to know that they're taking people with them. And it's just a madness and a rage. And this is all they have left to do with themselves until their time comes. So anyway, this person, I believe it was a man, he said that if they didn't oppress us, we would make something that we enjoyed. Now think about that. If we made things that we enjoyed, if we were able to discover that the best things in life really are free, and that there's more to life than, imitating television and imitating celebrities and imitating things that aren't real, and modeling ourselves off of things we saw in staged commercials where they tell people when to laugh and when to smile and where to stand and what to say. And they stand there and work on this person so that this person looks just so. They even paint the food that they show in these commercials. They make everything look like it is so to be desired, to the point where you'll chase those things. And if they didn't put all those things in front of us, then we would have a chance to discover what really makes you happy. Imagine if you could come home and deal with your kids and you weren't tired and you weren't spent from everything you had to deal with at work, and you weren't sleep deprived, and you had time to select and prepare healthy foods and healthy meals, and you were able to get some sunlight, some fresh air, and some exercise, and had time to really enjoy your children instead of you being tired and them being cranky and them being stressed because they got a bunch of homework that they don't know how to do, and you don't know how or have time to help them and really dive into the problems that they are being saddled with in life. So they are there to create an oppressive atmosphere, and that is so that you will not try and go discover what it is that you really want out of life, that you would really want to do, something that could actually be fulfilling. What are your real gifts? What are your talents? I was thinking the other day, what the dumbest thing in the world is to ask, a 7 or 8-year-old, I'll never do it again if I've ever done it. What do you want to be when you grow up? What? What kind of dumb question is that? That's a dumb question. And then when they stop giving answers like something that is what we're looking for, we're not looking for them to say, oh, I want to be a pirate, or I want to be a scuba diver, or I want to climb mountains, or what, something that they might say when they're very young. We're waiting for them to get a certain age where they're going to say, oh, I want to be a doctor. And then we'll say, oh, good for you. Or I want to be a lawyer. Oh, good for you. We're waiting for them to call out those professions that this type of economy magnifies. Like there's only a set slice of things that you're encouraged to do. But God has created us with many, many talents, many, many abilities, things that never, ever get explored because we are all fed into a machine from very young. We're fed into this machine that is just breeding slaves, workers, fuel for a furnace that only warms their lives. Even if you were fed into the criminal justice system, if you're just, from your, 11, 10, 12 years old, breaking into cars and being a little criminal, even that works for them. Because there's a whole industry of lawyers and judges and correction officers and businessmen and corporations that build prisons, that sell food to prisons, that sell the clothes that they wear, that maintain the computer systems. There's a whole business. So either way, whether you're being a productive citizen or if you're laying around having babies, collecting welfare. You're still being used to make other people rich. I know a doctor who delivers babies in an area where there's a lot of teenage pregnancies. And he told me that if it weren't for the Medicaid patients, he would be making a lot less money. So here are these people, they don't work at all. And all they're doing is adding children that they don't know how to raise to the equation of chaos. And even they are still slaves. Because your children become the new participants in the pediatrician's offices. They become new people for the government to buy vaccines for. They're just making money off of the way of life that they have created for us, hand over fist and left and right. And if they stopped doing these things, we would drop out of this system. If they left us alone, if they stopped advertising it, if they stopped giving away stuff for free, if they stopped offering you the convenient way to do things, then people would begin to express their God-given talents. So they're not going to let that happen. They want you to think that success is wearing a pair of uncomfortable shoes and some clothes that you can't get anything on or they'll never look the same. So the other part of that was that we would make something that we enjoyed. And if we discovered what we enjoyed, we would not, we wouldn't go to their baseball games. We wouldn't go to their movies. We wouldn't buy all their makeup. And we wouldn't buy all their fancy clothes and just buy into all the garbage that they try to tell us is living. A Volvo. A Volvo is a payment. A Volvo is a certain amount of hours out of your day that you have to spend away from your family to pay for it. That's all it is. So you're working to pay for the Volvo, to drive to your job, to be away from your family, to pay for the daycare, to pay for the health care that you're going to need because you're not taking care of yourself because you're so busy, because you spend so much time at work. So they're just constantly selling us this fake life. And the other part of that was that if they didn't oppress us, then men would wonder when this life is going to be over. One thing that oppression does is it puts you into a survival type mode. It puts you into a frame of mind where you're not thinking, you're just reacting. If you spend all the time and you're being harassed on your job and they got all these little petty rules. I used to work for this one company. They developed this thing called a point system. And you got a point for anything. if you got sick and called off from work, you got a point. And people were like, well, that doesn't make sense because people get sick. And they're like, oh, don't worry about it. You have so many points. It's, these are not punitive. We understand that things happen. It's just when people start getting way up there that they have to worry about points. So the thing about the points was when you got so many points, you were automatically fired. Even if it was for clocking in 1 minute late. You got a point for clocking in 1 minute late. You got points for calling off. Didn't matter. Even if you had a doctor's excuse, it doesn't matter. You just get points. And other sorts of things you could get points for. But mostly it was like attendance. And if you clocked out late, you would get a point. Or say you came to work early and it wasn't time to clock in yet. Because you got a point if you clocked in too early. It was just a way to just keep people walking on eggshells and just keep you stressed. So when you're at your job like that and you're racing through the city, you could mess around and get a speeding ticket. You could get in an accident. Be driving too fast for the weather conditions, weaving in and out of traffic, because you literally could lose your job for being late. And they have the system set up where it's not acceptable to be late. So when you have all those things on your mind, and it's not just, I can't be late because I can't lose my job, because if I lose my job, I won't get my paycheck, then I can't keep a roof over our head. It literally comes down to, no, it's not worth racing through the streets in a blizzard, in the dark, on slippery roads, so you won't be 1 minute late to work. No, there's no world where that makes sense. And if you put it to people that way, no, of course no one's going to do that. But the way it really shakes out is you're racing through the city so that you don't have to live out in the blizzard. You're racing through the streets in a blizzard because if you don't, you'll be living in the blizzard. Because you'll be a minute late and you'll get another point, and then that's going to be your final write-up, and then you're going to lose your job, and then you're going to miss your paycheck, and then you're going to lose your apartment. So those are the types of pressures that are on people, where good sense and logic just flies out the window. Instead of just slowing down, wait a minute, this isn't worth me maiming myself or other people racing through the city for. So even if I lose that job, so what? God will take care of me. Why are we willing to live in such a society that keeps us in such a precarious position at all times? So they're not thinking about, I could die trying not to get this one last point on the way to work. They're not thinking about any of that. You know why? Because if they keep you busy and oppressed enough, you don't even think about the fact that you're going to die one day. This life has an end. This is the year we call 2018. And there's hardly anybody who was alive, that's still alive now, that was born in 1918. And that's proof positive. People die. But dying is something that we never seriously ponder. We run from it. We fear it at all costs. They've offered us a whole new religion called healthcare. And you think through healthcare and through technology and DNA manipulation, they're suggesting to people that they can just put death off a little while longer. And they want to vaccinate the whole country with a poisonous flu shot because they tell you it might save some lives. And you created a multi-billion dollar a year industry off the fact that someone might die. Not only might someone die, everyone's going to die. Except the people who are saved at the catching away of the church and the saints on the last day when Jesus Christ returns. It's appointed unto man once to die. Everyone's going to die. And we would not live a life of sin if people were able to take time and ponder the fact that they're going to die. So, since the devil wants people corrupted, we don't battle against flesh and blood, we battle against principalities and spirits. And their goal and desire is to see to it that we sin. Because they want us to go to hell. They want you to be miserable so that you'll chase all the things that they tell you will make you happy. And that way, the people that the spirits have bought out, promising them riches and fame and power and whatever else they want, the way that comes about is by enslaving you. That's how they get their riches and fame. They give them slaves. They give them control of money so that they can control you and make you their slaves. And even those people would not work for these spirits if they really sat down and thought about the fact, what would a man give in exchange for a soul? And how is a man made any better off if he has gained and enjoyed the whole world and then loses his soul for this brief period of time that we're on the earth, and then you spend eternity? It just doesn't weigh out. But they don't want you to think about that. So therefore comes oppression. So I want to read a few scriptures. This is Psalms 90. And this is verse 12. It says, "So teach us to number our days, that we may apply our hearts to wisdom." There's a little bit more before that I want to read too. Oh, wrong. It says, "The days of our years are 80 years and 10. And if by reason of strength they be 80 years, yet is their strength labor and sorrow. Yet is their strength labor and sorrow. For it is soon cut off, and we fly away. Who knoweth the power of thine anger? Even according to thy fear, so is thy wrath. So teach us to number our days, that we may apply our hearts to wisdom." So it says, a man may live 70 years. And if he's granted a long life, he may live 80. But know this, through those 80 years, they are going to be spent in labor and toil. Because you're going to always have the poor with you. Because you're going to always have the oppressor with you. And you're going to always have the oppressor with you because the devil is here. And men are wicked and corruptible. Okay. This is Genesis chapter 47, verse 9. When the children of Israel first went into Egypt, where they were driven by a famine, Jacob went and met Pharaoh. And Pharaoh asked Jacob, how old was he? Because he was a very old man. And in verse 9 of chapter 47 of Genesis, Jacob answered him. And Jacob said unto Pharaoh, the days of the years of my pilgrimage, meaning his life, are 130 years. Few and evil have the days of the years of my life been, and have not attained unto the days of the years of the life of my fathers in the days of their pilgrimage. So what he was saying is that this is a short and sorrowful life. Okay. Job chapter 14, verse 1. Man that is born of a woman is of few days and full of trouble. He cometh forth like a flower and is cut down. He fleeth also as a shadow and continueth not. But the devil wants you to eat, drink, and be merry. He wants you to have philosophies like YOLO, you only live once, and let's live it up. Prince, let's party like it's 1999. He said, party over, out of time, but tonight I'm going to party like it's 1999. All up until the day that they're destroyed, they say, we're going to party. We're just going to have a good time. I knew of an old man who ironically sang in a gospel group, singing group, quartet. And I knew someone who knew him, and he was a filthy, old, wretched man who went around and they did concerts all over the country, and they would just lived a life of adultery and fornication and debauchery and nothing like what they were singing about. They had groupies and they just lived a disgusting life. And this old man in old age said, well, I want to tell you one thing. This life don't owe me nothing. So he was saying, oh, I had a good time. I had a good time. So in other words, to him, that sin was worth it to him. But I guarantee you he hadn't really considered the true penalty. Okay. Now let's go to Hebrews chapter 9. This is verse 27. And as it is appointed unto men once to die, but after this, the judgment. James chapter 4. Okay. Verse 7. Submit yourselves therefore to God. Resist the devil, and he will flee from you. Draw nigh to God, and he will draw nigh to you. Cleanse your hands, ye sinners, and purify your hearts, ye double-minded. Be afflicted and mourn. Don't go out and try to have the best time you can. Consider the fact that our lives are just a blink, a whisper, a vapor. And even if you're very young now, we live in the last days of time. I believe that there are about 42 months left. We'll never know the day or the hour of the last day. We won't know that day, but we know the season. And this is the season, and this is the time, and it is coming. And we are, because no one knows the exact day that the tribulation began or will begin. But we know that we perceive the labor pains. We know that we see the clouds gathering for the storm that's coming. So it says, be afflicted and mourn and weep, and let your laughter be turned to mourning. Okay, turn off all their comedies. Turn off Eddie Murphy and all the clowns and jesters that they put before us. There'll be a time to laugh. There's a time to laugh. But there's also a time to refrain from laughing. There's a time to weep and mourn. And this is the time to weep and mourn. So you consider yourself. So you can consider yourself. Let your laughter be turned to mourning and your joy to heaviness. Now humble yourselves in the sight of the Lord, and he shall lift you up. Okay, we drop down a little bit. Verse 13, go to now, they say. Today or tomorrow we will go into such a city and continue there a year and buy and sell and get gain. Whereas ye know not what shall be on the morrow. For what is your life? It is even a vapor that appeareth for a little time and then vanisheth away. For that ye ought to say, if the Lord will, we shall live and do this or that. Solomon had some interesting things to say in Ecclesiastes. Chapter 1, verse 2, vanity of vanities, saith the preacher, vanity of vanities, all is vanity. What profit hath a man of all his labor which he taketh under the sun? One generation passeth away, and another generation cometh, but the earth abideth forever. So people are constantly coming and going, being born and dying. And they never have enjoyed what they did in between, and they never have considered where they're going after they're done. Verse 8 says, all things are full of labor. Man cannot utter it. The eye is not satisfied with seeing, nor the ear filled with hearing. He's saying there's no happiness. There's no happiness to be found living on this earth. Now, this is what Solomon did. He said, I, the preacher, was king over Israel in Jerusalem, and I gave my heart to seek and search out by wisdom concerning all things that are done under heaven. This sore travail hath God given to the sons of man to be exercised therewith. A curse was pronounced upon man in Genesis, and we all as men will live out that curse until this earth passes away. Verse 14, I have seen all the works that are done under the sun, and behold, all is vanity and vexation of spirit. That which is crooked cannot be made straight, and that which is wanting cannot be numbered. You're going to do school reform? Can't be done. You're going to fix the schools? Can't be done. You're going to fix the prison system? Can't be done. You're going to fix the government? Can't be done. You're going to bring America back to righteousness? Can't be done. You're going to make it great again? Not going to happen. Because you can't reverse the curse. Can't be done. And that which is wanting cannot be numbered. If you start searching all of the conspiracies, and they're not conspiracy theories, they're literally conspiracies, and all the ways that this government is literally trying to kill people, and how in the wicked depths of the hearts of the people that live in this world and run it and even live next door to you. It can't be told. There's no numbering of it. And it's getting greater every day. Verse 16 says, I communed with my own heart, saying, Lo, I am come to great estate, and have gotten more wisdom than all they that have been before me in Jerusalem. Yea, my heart had great experience of wisdom and knowledge. I gave my heart to know wisdom, and to know madness and folly. I perceived that this also is vexation of spirit. So Solomon had time by virtue of the fact that he actually oppressed the people. He actually lived a life where he wasn't like the people that oppress us, where we can't find anything that we enjoy in life because of the way they oppress us. Solomon was actually an oppressor. He actually made life miserable. I'm assuming this by the end of his reign. The people were heavily taxed and burdened under Solomon to create this vast kingdom that he created and all the things that he did and built. He said, and then he found out it didn't fulfill him. For in much wisdom is much grief, and he that increaseth knowledge increaseth sorrow. And I said in my heart, chapter 2, go to now, I will prove thee with mirth. Therefore enjoy pleasure, and behold, this also is vanity. Pleasure, not joy. Joy comes from the Lord. But pleasure he sought after. I said of laughter, it is mad, and of mirth, what doth it? I sought in mine heart to give myself unto wine, yet acquainting my heart with wisdom, and to lay hold on folly, till I might see what was that good for the sons of men which they should do under the heaven all the days of their lives. So he was searching. He had the luxury to do so because he didn't have to work. He didn't have to do anything. He had servants on top of servants, and his servants had servants. And that's a fact. So, given that he had all this free time and all this leisure time, he set out on a mission to find out what is the best way to spend the days of your life. So he tried out, he literally did everything he was big enough to do. And he was pretty big. He said, I made me great works. I builded me houses. I planted me vineyards. I made me gardens and orchards. Now, he didn't do any of this personally. He laid all these things upon the people to do. I made me pools of water, to water therewith the wood that bringeth forth trees. Oh, excuse me. I planted trees in them of all kinds of fruit. I made me pools of water to water therewith the wood that bringeth forth the trees. So, irrigation systems. I got me servants and maidens, and had servants born in my house. I also had great possessions of great and small cattle above all that were in Jerusalem before me. I gathered me also silver and gold, and the particular treasure of kings and of the provinces. I gat me men singers and women singers. He entertained himself, and the delights of the sons of men as musical instruments, and that of all sorts. So I was great, and increased more than all that were before me in Jerusalem. Also my wisdom remained with me, and whatsoever mine eyes desired, I kept not from them. I withheld not my heart from any joy, for my heart rejoiced in all my labor, and this was my portion of all my labor. Then I looked on all the works that my hands had wrought, and on the labor that I had labored to do, and behold, all was vanity and vexation of spirit, and there was no profit under the sun. He found out what so many people find out. There's no joy in things that can be acquired in this life. there's no joy. So that's what Solomon was carrying on about, saying, vanity of vanities, all is vanity. He's saying it's all worthless. In verse 23, he says, for all his days are sorrow. Verse 22, it says, for what hath man of all his labor, and of the vexation of his heart, wherewith he hath labored under the sun? For all his days are sorrow, and his travail grief. Yea, his heart taketh not rest in the night. This also is vanity. Then he says, there's nothing better for a man than that he should eat and drink, and that he should make his soul enjoy good in his labor. This also I saw, that it was from the hand of God. So what should a man do? What they try to prevent us from doing. What it says here, they oppress because if they didn't, we would make something that we enjoy. And this is Solomon concluded. Out of all the money that he had, out of all the wives and women and concubines and wisdom and everything that he had, he finally concludes that there's nothing better for a man that he should eat and drink, and that he should make his soul enjoy good in his labor. A good hard day's work at something that you enjoy and that you are not being oppressed at. Then he goes over all the way in chapter 12. He goes on and on like this for a while because he's really grieved at how miserable life is. So this is what he says. Remember now thy Creator in the days of thy youth, while the evil days come not, nor the years draw nigh, when thou shalt have no pleasure in them. While the sun, or the light, or the moon, or the stars be not darkened, nor the clouds return after the rain, in the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble, and the strong men shall bow themselves, and the grinders cease because they are few, and those that look out the windows be darkened. So this is all this part is like an analogy about how the body breaks down, saying that, the keepers of the house tremble, your hands are shaking and you bent over. The strong men shall bow themselves. The grinders cease because they're few. Grinders being like your teeth. Teeth all fall out and can't really enjoy eating the things that you want to eat. And those that look out of the windows be darkened. Remember what happened to Isaac? How Jacob was able to trick him and steal his brother's birthright because Isaac couldn't see anymore. Because his eyes, the Bible says his eyes had grown dim because of his great age. So, and it goes on like that. He says, then, verse 7, then shall the dust return to the earth as it was, and the spirit shall return unto God who gave it. Vanity of vanities, saith the preacher. All is vanity. Now, is this video to depress the living daylights out of you? No, it's not. This is the reason why men must work out their salvation with fear and trembling. Because we're going to die. This life is going to come to an end, one way or another. And we have to consider where we're going, where we're going to spend eternity. That was the second part of this. That they would wonder when this life is going to be over. That's a good thing. That you stop and think, how long do I have? He said, then shall the dust return to the earth as it was, and the spirit shall return unto God who gave it. Then he concludes this way in verses 13 and 14. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. This was the wisest man. And in the freedom that he had, because he was the oppressor and not the oppressed, he had a chance to do all those things that you think you would do if you were rich. And you never had to worry about working, and you never had to worry about money, and you had servants, and you had everything you always wanted, and you can give your kids everything, and blah, 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 blah. You don't have to go through all that. You don't even have to keep wondering. You can just take the conclusions of the wisest man that ever ruled. Now, of course, we don't count Jesus because Jesus was God and man. So, of course, the foolishness of God is wiser than any wisdom that man could ever have. So Jesus is not even in this category. But this is what he decided. So you don't have to wait until the Powerball that you're never going to win. You can just stop wondering what would happen if you had all that stuff. And just know that it'll never satisfy you. That it'll never bring true joy and happiness. This is what he concluded. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. For God shall bring every work into judgment with every secret thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil. Out of all the things you can do and have and know, and through wisdom search out and experience and have pleasure with, none of it meant a hill of beans except to fear God, to keep his commandments, and that this was the whole duty of man. Why? Because dust will return back to dust, and the spirit to the one that created it, and it will answer. For God shall bring every work into judgment with every secret thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil. Then I want to finish up with Luke chapter 12, verse 15. And he said unto them, take heed and beware of covetousness, for a man's life consisteth not in the abundance of the things which he possesseth. And he spake a parable unto them, saying, the ground of a certain rich man brought forth plentifully. And he thought within himself, saying, what shall I do? Because I have no room where to bestow my fruits. And he said, this will I do. I will pull down my barns and build greater, and there will I bestow all my fruits and my goods. And I will say to my soul, soul, thou hast much goods laid up for many years. Take thine ease, eat, drink, and be merry. But God said unto him, thou fool, this night thy soul shall be required of thee. Then whose shall those things be which thou hast provided? So is he that layeth up treasure for himself, and is not rich toward God. And he said unto his disciples, therefore I say unto you, take no thought for your life, what ye shall eat, neither for the body what ye shall put on. The life is more than meat, and the body is more than raiment. Verse 28. If then God so clothe the grass, which is today in the field, and tomorrow is cast into the oven, how much more will he clothe you, O ye of little faith? And seek not ye for what ye shall eat, or what ye shall drink, neither be ye of double mind. For all these things do the nations of the world seek after, and your Father knoweth that ye have need of these things. Why does the devil control the world? Because all the nations seek after these things, and they don't trust in God. And in these last 42 months that we approach upon, this will be the separation. This will determine the goat from the sheep. The goat, they will trust in this life. They'll take the mark of the beast because they're worried about what they'll eat and drink and what they'll wear and who they are and on up, depending on how vain they are. And we will trust in God. We will know, yeah, if I don't take this mark, I will lose my job. If I don't take this mark, I don't know where I'm going to be living, out in the woods, I guess. But we shall still trust that God will supply all of our needs. He said, for all these things do the nations of the world seek after, and your Father knoweth that ye have need of these things. This is why the whole world is going to worship the beast, because they won't be able to buy or sell unless they do. So anyway, God bless you, and that's it.